Hello, hello, welcome to this special 28 years later spoiler stream. Once again, we're spoiling things. I'm joined by most of Autop Stream tonight, so this is something of a fun event. Autop Stream Light. To screen upper right is Cody Leach. Cody Leach, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Are you sure?
Sunday night. Pretty sure.
Okay.
Judge is ruling. Yeah, we're doing good.
Because the internet suggests otherwise, but
oh yeah.
Screen
Is Jonathan Majors involved with this movie in any way?
Did you get a tally on who was in this movie and what they've done in their past? Yeah. That's an important question.
He delivered cookies to set. Fuck. See you guys later. Yeah.
And Rudy of Gen X Reviews to screen bottom right. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this movie with you two.
That's good.
Yay.
Yeah, so we're all of... I don't think anyone here hates the movie, right? I'm fair in assuming that, but it doesn't seem... It seems like it's either black or white. Like, if you like it, you have to decide between hating it and loving it. Cody, you've had some interesting discourse, and I don't think you hate it, right? Like, I think we agree on a lot, and I'm okay.
No, I don't hate it. The Warriors is better, but I don't hate it. I gave it.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
I gave it 3.25 out of 5.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit above you. And Rudy, you might be the most favorable of us, although you don't do scores, but you gave it a rather throbbing thumbs up. So.
Yes, an alpha cock thumbs up. Oh, can I see that?
Yeah, you're fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I loved it. Big thumbs up.
No money for you.
I know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I don't understand why this has like Halloween 2018 vibes to it, but it kind of does, where a positive score isn't positive enough. I liked it. Emily liked it even more than I did, but there are flaws in it. It's certainly not the most perfect film I've seen, but that's not like throwing shade or anything on it. So it's odd to see that there's such vitriol behind the discourse on the internet, and I try to avoid it. And me hearing about it, it's just like, what movie are you guys watching? What is the discourse you're having? So I'll start with Rudy. What, other than having to watch it for October, what is your experience with the 28 franchise, and how have you felt with days and weeks and now years?
Okay. I often go back and forth. Everybody knows that this movie up here is probably my favorite zombie movie ever, but every now and then, 28 days later will trump it. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. The 28 days later came out after 9/11. It was a different time. It just felt appropriate, I want to say, for when it came out. And I love the graininess of it. I think Danny Boyle shot it with like a digital camera.
A potato.
A potato. And I think it added to the old, like this like found footage type of like a feel. And it haunted me because, again, it introduced running zombies. They didn't invent that, but it was just a different take, and the going with the rage virus versus a zombie virus was completely different as well. And it stayed with me. It impacted me so much in the theater. I remember just sitting there when the credits rolled up. I loved it that much. And it's still like one of my favorites of all time. Weeks, I've seen it only a few times, but it's from what I gather, what I remember, it was very brutal compared to the first one, very dire, which again, in this world, it makes sense. And with this one, I was hoping not to feel anything like the other two. This is 28 years after the fact that the events happened. So I had to went in anticipating that, okay, these people have been around this long. They probably have kind of learned how to live around them, hunt them, and survive this long. So I was expecting a different type of tone with this movie, and I got that. And that's what I walked in expecting. But overall, this is like one of my favorite franchises, and I'm looking forward to the new trilogy, which I had no idea was going to exist until I spoke to you guys yesterday. But I'm looking forward to this, especially if Danny Boyle and the original writer are still in place.
Cody, what about you? What's your journey with a 28 zzz?
So I was really late to the party on Days. So that movie came out when? 2002?
November 2002.
Okay, so I was 12. I really wasn't into zombie stuff for a very long time. It just never really appealed to me. So I remember when that movie came out, I remember distinctly the trailers for it, like on TV, where they're like, "Oh, go to the theaters now. We're showing the second ending to the movie." Like they just kept advertising it, and it had a big amount of buzz. I didn't jump onto the franchise until Weeks came out, so that was 2004. And when I first moved here to Georgia, I didn't know anybody, and I didn't have anywhere to go, so it was boring. So once in a while in the summertime, I used to just ride with my mom. She would go to work. She would drop me off at the mall here, which is right across the street from two theaters, or what used to be two theaters. And I would literally just spend all day going back and forth from the mall to the movie theater.
Nice.
And so that was the only reason I watched Weeks, because I was like, well, it's this or Rise of the Silver Surfer. So I'll go watch that. And I thought Weeks was awesome. Like the opening of that movie, I was like, holy shit, this is intense. So I loved Weeks from the beginning. I never understood the hate for that movie. And then obviously, like that weekend, I was like, I have to see what Days is. And I liked Days a lot, but it took a little while for me to warm up to it because it's very different. Weeks is, dare I say, a little bit more American. And so Days, having more of a British style, the look of the film, it took a little while for me to grow on it. And eventually Days took over as my favorite of the two. So I love both of the first two, and 28 years ever since they announced it was my most anticipated of this year, because while I think the zombie subgenre has been incredibly oversaturated over the last 10 years, like I felt like this is, if any franchise is going to come back and give it a shot in the arm, it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I loved Days when I saw it. Remember getting the Blu-ray and forgetting what it looked like, and the upscaling of high def really didn't do it any favors anyway. I remember being like, "Is this thing broken? What is wrong with
worse
this?"
with 4K and everything else.
It's literally worse looking. And like the snob in me was like, "I don't want to watch this. This is crappy looking." And like it took me out of it. And Weeks, I guess at the moment I preferred Weeks because it didn't look like dog snot for a bit. But the early 2010s happened, and then you had Walking Dead, World War Z. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was right around there, if not right before it. There was like this abundance of zombie stuff, and I just kind of forgot about Weeks later. And I have not caught up. We meant to catch up with it prior to seeing years later, but then Sean, good friend Sean Chandler, also has a channel. He said you don't need to see the anything prior to get the gist. So we had an early show. The wife was home the day after the autopsy stream debrief, and we went and watched it. And I still have not caught up with Weeks, but as far as my memory on a 10, 12 year gap between viewing it, I think I like Weeks more, but as of right now, it's Years that's my favorite. But I'll get back to you in October because we've got to refresh our memories with those. But Weeks will be the one that I'm probably most naked to. That it could jump, it could fall. I don't know, but I don't know what I was expecting. And this movie goes on some journeys. The one thing that I'll give, again, my memory for Weeks is not very good at all. But the one thing that I would like to give credit to 28 years later, again, this is a spoiler stream. We're going to spoil it. I'll give you a proper warning, but what are you doing here otherwise? The movie, it's like if you wanted to show someone what a 3-act structure is, this is probably the best movie for that, because the first act, something's going on. The second act, something else is going on. And the third act, they're very like different things that happen in each act. And it's the easiest to like point to and be like, okay, you can definitely tell that this is what's going on in the first act. This is what's going on in the second act. And this is what's going on in the third act. So for whatever that's worth, the fact that there's like 3 little mini stories within the movie that are like easily decipherable, I kind of dig that. However I feel about things in the first act, but you got 3 separate stories to they're not really 3 separate stories, but there's more than one thing to chew on if you don't like one aspect of it. Yeah. So again, thank you, Rudy. We are going to spoil this. So
Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
28 years.
One thing real quick, I forgot to mention, 28 days later introduce, in my opinion, one of the greatest themes in a movie that really gets me unnerved is that
Wasn't
theme
that
in a
in
heartbeat.
28 years? Somebody pointed that out.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
wasn't.
son of a-
That's what I was about to fucking say. Anyway, they didn't have it in this movie, but that theme is very iconic. And it's for a theme to get me unnerved along with what's going on visually. It's perfect. So I love that theme, and I'm glad they have it, but I wish they would have had it here. That would have been perfect for me, and just cherry on top for me.
2.25 out of 5.
You know, just thumbs with Rudy.
Yeah, just thumbs, yeah.
Just
Right. It's slight arc.
It's 11 a.m. for his thumb. So the movie opens with a bunch of children watching Teletubbies, and a bunch of kids huddled around a television, and things are happening outside the door, and what appears to be a mother figure runs in and drops off yet another child to the television session where they're all just watching Teletubbies, and just absolute chaos is going on outside the door. And the kids very, very clearly know that something's wrong, and they're watching this ridiculous children's show that's all upbeat and making weird goo goo gaga noises. But you could see it on the children's faces that they're not having a good time, and they're certainly affected by what's happening through the wall there, and what's chaos is just pouring into this house, and all of the adults are having to deal with the infected, and for the most part, it's spilling out all over the house. And is the Jimmy character the one that we're following up front, outside the window?
the priest's son. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So a kid scrambles out, and he gets into a church, which me and my stupid franchise, this has got to be connected. I thought, this is the church from 28 Days Later with that priest. I was quickly proven wrong on that, but I could have been an homage, but I didn't really use my head when I was thinking so quickly. And the infected spill out into the church, and little Jimmy's handed a token from the priest, a cross necklace that I don't remember if it was upside down when it was handed to him.
No, it wasn't. It was a regular crucifix.
Yeah. So that crucifix shows up later in the film, but it's amended. And then we kind of flash forward to the Scottish Highlands. I guess I'll start with Cody. How did that opening scene hit you, and did it set the table well enough for you?
I mean, I thought it was a good opening scene. I don't think it was nearly as impactful as the opening of the last two movies. Like the last two movies start by like gripping you by the throat. I mean, the first one you have, a little more subtle than the action side of the second one. But you have the scenes where he's in London and it's empty, and then the scene in the church where he says hello, and that always freaks me the fuck out. And then the second one, of course, like as I said, that opening sequence I think is one of the most awesome openers to any horror movie ever. So I didn't walk in expecting like this is gonna top that, but I thought it was a good enough opening. But it didn't like holy shit, it wasn't like that level. It was just like, okay, who's this kid? Who's he gonna be 28 years later? And then immediately I was like, is it Aaron Taylor Johnson? And then when that reveal didn't really come, I was like, okay, maybe it's that doctor character we keep talking about, and then it's Ray Fiennes, and I'm like, okay, well, way too old for that to work. So I don't. Yeah, that was.
So 28 decades later, maybe.
Yeah.
Rudy, what about you? How did you feel after that opening scene?
Anything with kids in movies, it kind of gets me in a different way. And I'm thinking if I was a parent and this was going on, you would do your best to protect your kids from the violence that's going on. So you're going to do something like that, keep them locked away, and watch a cartoon, get your mind off things. And I think any parent can relate to that. And ultimately, you can only do so much until the hell comes bursting in. And again, they didn't show it; it wasn't graphic. Again, with Cody and anybody can agree, the opening to part 2 is far more brutal when it comes to like kids getting killed and all that, and just the tension and etc. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty tough to sit through a little bit for me. But then the kid runs into the church and he calls the guy father. Is that his dad, or is he just calling him father as priest father?
That's
So I thought the priest was the kid's dad.
right. That's
Yeah,
what
I'm
I was
not sure.
confused at.
Yeah, it could be either one. It seemed like his dad because he was so comfortable with him, but it could
Yeah.
have just been that, I don't know.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. It set the tone for me.
Yeah, and ironically so, perhaps. We lead into this family, which Aaron Taylor Johnson is the father of, and his young boy, who's 12. They make a point to say how old he is. They're about to go on this adventure where, I don't know, it's something of a passing of a torch, a coming of age hunting trip for the kid, and when they're preparing for that trip, it's said that he's a little young for that. And I thought that was interesting because apparently they don't go until like they're 14, 15. So in the beginning, we have a moment where kids are thrust into things like they're watching something to keep their innocence, this children's television show, but they're understanding the reality of what's going on right in front of them. And now we have a similar situation where a father and son character, a father's bringing his son to something that perhaps he's not mentally prepared for. And I would argue he probably wasn't, but some of the things that happen following that are a bit puzzling. They go out and there's new infected. There's these crawling, chubby zombie type characters that are easy to shoot, and there's
I'd call them bloaters, but HBO
Ooh.
might hit you with a copyright.
Yeah, they're very bloater-ish, and it's like there's this hunting trip, and things don't go as well as you would expect or want. But when they get back to the island, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is singing his son's praise that he's this badass, and he got him in one, and man, he was doing so well. And the kid's trying to cut him off and be like, Dad, I missed. And he's kind of getting shushed from his father. And I thought that was interesting. And both Emily and I, we kind of said, we had different angles of it, but we both said to each other, this kid is his legend is going to precede him, and he's going to get someone killed. And, we'll get to that. But I think it was interesting having two parallels of children experiencing something too early and having two different ways of them finding out the hard way what life really is like. I guess life in this environment. I know that Cody, you are okay with the cinematography in this movie, right?
Yeah, I like the way that it was shot because I think that it kind of it recreates a bit of that gritty, raw feel from the first film without it looking like shit. And it's interesting to me, just as a film nerd, how you would build rigs and do certain things specifically to shoot this whole film with iPhones. I think it's just I'd love to watch a whole behind the scenes thing on just how they shot it.
How was the brightness for you guys? Because I don't know if it was just a print that I was watching, but it was very dark when they were on the island in that segment. Like very
It was
dark.
fine for me.
Yeah, fine for me too.
Okay. It might have been the theater I was at. And yeah, they're very flashy editing to give you the vibe of what the infected are like. They're just hot jump cuts, and I understood why it was done that way, but I kind of grew tired of it coming from me, which is hysterical. But they don't lean on that too much. In the first act, it's very, very, very flashy, for lack of a better term. And
like the editing style, like the bullet time shit.
Yeah. And the cinematography were like where you get shot and then you do that like rotating matrix thing, and it's just like, yeah, okay, cool. Why is this a video game now?
Yeah.
I could have done without it. Listen, if you like it, I get it. It's just not my taste. There are things that I understand that people enjoy, like handheld. I can't stand a shot that is just constantly moving. I understand why people do it and why people like it. if you could afford a tripod, put the fucking thing on a tripod, please.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the editing throughout the movie. Like, there was stuff like that. I think it kills some of the impact when you do that too much with the quick cuts and the reverse angles and stuff like that versus just letting the arrow hit somebody practically and show it go down. So that got a little tiresome. And then, pretty heavily in the first act too, they do this thing where they keep splicing in B-roll of like this 1950s movie or 60s movie.
Yeah.
And it was
classic England archers and shit.
I think I read that it was called Henry V, which obviously I've never seen it. So I don't know if there's some poetic significance to cutting to that film. For me, it felt like, are we just doing this to really hammer home that society has kind of gone back to like the medieval times type shit? Because that seems real pretentious to me. Like I get it, they're using arrows. Like you don't have to show. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot they used arrows back in the day. that was a weird thing for me. So yeah, the editing overall was something that the times of the movie where I didn't notice it, it's like okay, cool. But then there was times where it really tried to be the star of the show, and I was like, nah.
For me, it didn't bother me at all. Like again, I know Danny Boyle. If you've seen his movies, he's always had this artistic flair. And if you're watching it, you're watching a Danny Boyle movie. And for me, I get the complaints and I can understand the criticisms with it. That could be distraction, but for me, it didn't overstay its welcome. Like when that edit shot, when you hit an arrow go through the zombie's head, it kind of zooms over here. I'm like, oh, cool. But they did it maybe 4 times, maybe 5. But after that, it was fine. As far as the intercutting of old footage, it just felt very Danny Boyle, like he did it in 127 hours, which is one of my favorite films that he's done. Very emotional. And again, I can get the criticisms, but for me, it didn't distract me from the experience of the film. It just felt like I'm watching a Danny Boyle movie.
Yeah. I know both of you are rather. I'm not being sarcastic. I know both of you are rather touched by father-son stuff in material. The way that the father-son relationship played out in this movie is something that I don't know. I might be a bit more attracted to because what the kid is hearing being said and what everyone's being told about this legend of him is quite the contrary to what he's experienced. Like there's even the moment where his dad's getting blown in the alley and the kid walks in on it like, what's going on here?
I think he was doing the blowing, but yeah.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well,
a lot of that this year in movies. Like, what's up with that?
So I had an appreciation for that because I guess I'm projecting my own personal experiences. There have been times where I've heard something and things have been said where I know for a fact that that's not what happened, and to experience it through the kid's eyes was interesting, and especially where the movie goes for the the rest of the movie with the child's journey alone. I kind of really appreciated that. Rudy, were you at all? I there's no way I'm going to say this without it sounding condescending, but like, did it not hit as hard for you because it wasn't, a perfect relationship between the father and son?
No, I mean, honestly, it's very realistic in a way, because I like that what you brought up earlier, the contrast between parents sheltering their kids when the things are going to hell. And then here he's telling his kid, look, no, I want you to look, like, I need to prepare him for this world and protect himself. He's doing this to get him make him a great hunter and not to be, overthrown or maybe nervous in what he sees out there. So he's preparing them as best he can in the world that he's growing up in, right? So he's doing it for his own best interest. As far as the praising of him, I think any parent can get carried away sometimes praising their kid if they had a game-winning shot or they did well at school or something like that. Parents have a habit of doing that. And, in this world, the happy moments are few and far between. So I can see a parent really just going out of his way saying, yes, my son did this. He exaggerated a little bit. Yeah. But I can see a parent doing that. But the kid did, to the kid's credit, he did miss, but he did what his dad was saying. And, considering the tension and what was going on, the kid did okay. He did fine. The kid could have cried and just not done anything, but he did fine.
It's also the fact that he was too young, too, that they made a point to say that he wasn't really ready yet. I think that's an interesting thing for them to highlight and not really have it be a part of the rest of the movie too much. Cody, what about you? How did you feel about the dynamic between the father son?
It didn't really hit me. I mean, I get really affected whenever the father son stuff resembles something about my relationship
Mm.
with my father, and my dad was never the type where it's just like, like I'm doing something. He's like, oh yeah, my boy's the king. He fucking slayed out 20. Like it did that whole thing is not what I experienced. So it was interesting. I like the dynamic there, but it wasn't like, like when we were talking about Boys in the Hood or something where I'm like, oh, so, I think that, it set up some interesting things because you get a lot of information within a small amount of time where you have, his dad's pushing him to go out there before he's ready
Mm.
and doesn't even really seem like he's fully taking it seriously himself. Like the level of danger doesn't feel as palpable as it should, where it's like it takes 2 seconds for this kid to just be fucking, and like nowadays, especially with our society, I can only speak for myself. Like we're super protective of our kids, whereas in the 90s when I grew up, it was a lot softer. And then even generations before that, it was just like you were gone all day and fuck it,
Yeah.
you'll be home when the street lights are on. So that was interesting. But then you also get, like you guys were saying, where they go back to the village and the dad's basically spinning this lie, spinning this legend of his son. The son's like, I don't.
Dude,
Am I supposed to be like fist pumping this? This is all bullshit. And then 5 minutes later, he sees his dad's head in somebody's skirt, and so like it kind of there's a moment in everybody's life, especially as a son, I guess, for the sake of this story, where you start to mature enough to call bullshit on your parents. And if you have good parents, it's for small things, like we can't turn the light on so you can play Game Boy. We'll get pulled over, some stupid white lie like that.
Mhm.
But something like this, where you start to actually see the bullshit and you start to call bullshit. And like he's supposed to be a man. You're gonna leave now. You're gonna go slay zombies. This is your coming of age moment. Well, what comes along with that is that I can now call bullshit on all this other stuff. I'm not a little kid anymore. So that side of it was interesting to me.
Yeah, there's a couple of other things. There was two things that happened in that first act that I kind of circled. The fact that he was singing up the fact that the father was singing up this legend about his son. I thought that was going to cost someone because someone was going to trust him as like this
Mhm.
great arrow smith. I don't know what the term is for
Archer.
Archer. That's
Robin
it.
Hood.
Thank you. That's probably much better than Aerosmith. Good band though. And the other thing was the mother being sick, and like anyone who's watched one zombie movie ever could be like, oh, that's going to be a thing. And I'm glad I'm glad that neither of those situations played out to where I immediately like cynically was like, okay, the kid's gonna get someone killed and the mom's gonna be a zombie, in a time where they trust them or they need trust the most. But when the kid rushes back home, when his dad's full of skirt, there's someone, I don't remember what his relationship was. There was someone at the house with the mother, and he starts telling the little kid about this doctor person on the other island. And it's another moment where the kid has a different story to think of for, like you said, Cody, this bullshit factor with his father. And he starts second guessing things because his main problem is my mom's sick. There's a doctor there. Why aren't we trying to get her help? And, for better or worse, depending on like if it's a white lie being told to keep the kid safe or what, because he's experienced so many different fibs in a row in varying levels of whiteness, he has this idea to take things into his own hands. I guess I'll leave it to you guys because I feel like that's kind of a summary of the first act, because I feel like when the kid decides to take his mom and go out on their own, that's kind of the beginning of the main conflict of the story. But either Rudy or Cody, if Good talk.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of summed up my thoughts so far with just the father-son stuff. Like to me, like the first act, you're in the shoes of the kid. You're being reintroduced to this world. You're being shown the rules, the way that the infected has, evolved and devolved, and how you have to take care of them. Like we're kind of that kid for the first 30 minutes, where Aaron Taylor Johnson is like, this is what the fuck 28 years later looks like.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of that was the first act to me. It was like getting back into this world and seeing how things have changed, both as how society has changed as well as the infected.
Yeah. I think when you were touching on Charles with the father baby bullshitting the kid regarding the I guess the talent of the doctor, because he sells the doctor as
Like
this insane person,
right.
and maybe there's more to the story, I don't know, but
Mm,
just from a wave and just bodies on the ground, I guess that can kind of turn off somebody, right?
Mhm.
But even that friend who was watching the mother said, "Hey, there's more to this story." So
yeah.
I don't know, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but again, if you're in that time, I mean, could he really even help her? And he didn't. I mean, he gave her an idea of what was going on, but can you really help somebody in this world? Does he want to jeopardize his son's life or his life to go get help? What do you do? All these things. I don't think he was trying to self sabotage anything. I just think he was just knowing that that's not an option to even consider. But the kid wants to go do this, and that's where the movie takes off for me. The heart of the movie is there with the son going out of his way to get help for his mom. That's beautiful.
Do you remember, did they say how long she's been sick?
I don't remember
I
that.
don't remember either. I just
Because I'm wondering too, because I mean, we don't get really deep into this. As soon as the kid confronts him, Aaron Taylor Johnson is absent from this film until the last scene.
mm,
Yeah,
But I'm curious if there's something else there where, like, a guy in that situation where you have a wife that's dying, she's losing her mind, like, how long she's been there, we don't know. Maybe it's at a point where now he's kind of mentally moved on.
that's
He's got this
exactly what he
chick that
did.
he's moving, he's messing around with. Is it the first time that's happened, or they got some other thing on the side? It's been going on for months. Maybe there's a piece of the not wanting to go risk lives to try to save his wife because he's kind of just like mentally checked out and just waiting for her to die.
Mhm.
yeah.
So that could be part of it too. Like, we don't get deep enough. This is all speculation, but you think like Silent Hill 2, Rudy and I've been talking about that a lot. It's like kind of along those lines
Mhm.
where you look at it immediately like that guy's a piece of shit. And then, you think about how long you have to just stay there, and
Yeah.
his wife's not even his wife really anymore. Her mind's gone half the time. And I don't know. I'm interested to get more into the psychology of
Yeah.
that character, hopefully in the second film, because there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of caretakers that I've spoken to, or people that I've known, they tell me that when you've checked out, you're already expecting this person to die because it's been years or whatever months of you caring for this person. So part of you has already moved on, but the
Like you
chance of
guys with me.
saving them, the chance of saving them, a lot of people don't want to explore that, because like I'm already moved on. I mean, if he comes back, it's not the same anymore. So that's a whole other dynamic and a whole other conversation. But the mindset of somebody in that space, I mean, where would we be, and especially in that dire situation where there's no medical assistance to
Yeah.
cure. Even in our days, we can't cure cancer. So what if she had cancer?
Oh,
So there's nothing we could have done.
right. Well,
So
they don't know it's cancer at that point, and I think
yeah,
that's probably for a couple of reasons. And the one I'm thinking of the most is, oh, she's going to turn, and it's going to be at a really inopportune moment.
mhm.
Something that kind of going back to the fibs of the father. The first time we experience him tell a white lie, it's to his wife because she wants to know, like if it's time for school or something like that, and she doesn't like the idea of the son going out to hunt. And I think in that moment when the father character kind of lies to her, it's for the better. But like if you're of the mindset that the kid is, he's experiencing rapid fire fibs from his father, and it starts with uh, you know his dad lying to his mom about something somewhat trivial. So if you factor all the different um, untruths that the kid experiences in a short amount of time, I understand why he would want to take things into his own hands and be like, well, if you're going to tell me something different, I'm going to go see if I can get mom help, because there's more hope in what this dude has just told me about the doctor than whatever it is we're doing otherwise.
Just sitting here waiting for her
Right.
to die. Yeah.
Right.
Someone in the chat says, then just divorce her. None of us were like cheering the guy on if that's how it came across. Like nobody was like, oh, like listen, like he's totally in the right.
Yeah, is there
even
matrimony
divorce
court?
lawyers in this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I get half.
Hear ye, hear ye.
So how are we as far as the first act is concerned? I will say that I was expecting those two things. I was expecting the mom to turn and the kid to cost someone their life. And again, as far as on a technical level, I wasn't too wowed by things. I was a little off-put by some of the tactics, the editing, the dark cinematography, which I really feel like I need to rewatch the movie, because it did seem unnaturally AVPR type dark, and I was like,
Yeah, I definitely didn't have that problem.
okay,
So it must have been the print that you watched.
all right, so there's that. But I was expecting it to have not a great time or a predictable time, and the movie could only go up from there, and it kind of does. But I'll say my least favorite portion of the movie is probably the opening act.
I could agree with that. I was totally on board the first act. So like at no point in the first act was I having any significant issues. And as soon as the kid decided to leave with the mom, I was like, "Ooh, okay, this is the story. Interesting."
Yeah. And I'm glad the trailers didn't reveal that.
Right.
Maybe they did, but I didn't see the other trailer, so I'm glad that was kind of hidden.
No, I didn't really watch the whole trailer. But whenever I was editing my review, the only trailer that's out, it's actually one of the better horror trailers where it's just kind of images and vibes, and everything is there as far as visuals. Like they show you everything from the first, all three acts, but it gives you no indication of what kind of movie you're in for.
Yeah. So to kick things off, the kid goes up to the gate, which we didn't really talk about. There's this. What is the name of that strip of land? There's a term for it, and I've totally forgotten it. Where at,
I have no
at
idea.
high tide, I don't remember what.
It's sandbank. That's not a sandbank. That's what we call them.
Yeah, yeah. There's a strip that if the water's too high, it's covered, and at low tide or high tide, I don't know which one's which. They have a path to this mainland. There is the chase. That's when him and his father are there, right? Like when.
That's like
crows.
that was
awesome.
That was one of the better like visual scenes. Just because I love the way where they're running, and then it was almost like a video game. It reminded me of Rudy, you'll love it. It reminded me of like Vamp when Vamp runs, where you see him behind, all you see is the water.
Yeah,
where he's walking.
That's right.
Yeah, and so that was pretty badass. Where the alpha's coming after them, and they're like, "I'm gonna fucking gate!"
And the northern lights are behind them.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. Like that's
So again, very dark for me. What I think I saw was the crows in the sky. I didn't really see much else. I really need to go back and check. The one thing I remember is running and the alpha being very fast, and then them checking the father and the son's eyes, and like that was important for them at the gate.
Yeah.
In the first act, was it the first or the second act that we saw them find the skull like lodged in the tree? First act. So it was that, and then we were also getting the editing where when they came across certain things, it would show like that red vision, almost like the vision of the infected, right? Yeah, that was some other stuff where it felt like that was going to be more present, the red vision thing specifically, and it was only in that one spot.
And it may be for the future movies. We don't know, but
it felt odd that like the movie, not only tonally do the three acts feel very different, but even the editing style and the things they do is very different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think if they did that red vision thing again.
No, it was just the one time. That's why that was the one little editing thing where I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Let me see more of that. And then I was like, oh no, just more Henry V.
Yeah. Good old school arrows. Can't wait. I'm great. So I missed a key element. I know that they were being chased. I know the alpha was very fast, but I didn't see very much of it. So that's kind of
Wow.
frustrating to me. It was a very, very dark print. I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it. Get my uncle on the phone. So to head out to get his mother some help, he starts a fire near the gate to get out. And while everyone else is distracted with the fire, he takes his mom and runs out across the dune pile. I don't know
Sandbar.
Sandbar. The water path. How did we feel about the fact that the kid was setting fires near the important,
It's like a store, right, or something, a supply shack?
it was an important part of the main gate where like he's just setting fires to shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It didn't bug me to where it really annoyed me, but there's certainly some spots in this movie where characters do some pretty stupid shit, and that was just kind of one of it for me. It was like you understand the kid's motivation. I was interested to see this journey he's about to go on, but even just the idea in and of itself, it's like, dude, you just kind of sucked ass with your dad 20 minutes ago, and now you're going to take your mom who can't help you, isn't going to shut the fuck up sometimes. She's going to say weird things and go off and rant, and you think this is going to go well? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think my biggest problem with this movie is this sequence because, they're heavily guarding this gate, which we just experienced earlier that, they're very protective of it. But, a little fire a couple of yards back and the kid says, you go and do it. I'll watch the gate for you. Like, you're just gonna let him do that, huh? I don't know if like that's one of the things where his legend has gotten around in a night or two, but I can't imagine. I can't imagine them being that foolish.
They needed a way to get out, so the screenplay said, "Go burn a shack." Yeah, it's fine.
Again, I like the movie. It's just I'm glad there's not too much stuff like that sequence there. So the kid, I'm trying to think if the kid and the mom experience anything too hectic prior to either the Swedish guy or the train.
No, they have that thing where they fall asleep and that little bloater thing comes at him, and then it shows someone beat the living fuck out of it, and I guess that was the mom, where she just kind of like snapped out of it for a second. That was kind of a goofy thing for me too, where I was like, I turned to my son. I was watching with him because that fucking thing was loud, and the kid. I was like, he's sleeping really fucking sound despite all this damn noise. Even the mom beating the shit out of this thing didn't even wake him up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an awkward sequence because it's sending some weird mixed messaging about. Like I thought it was like a hallucination or something. It was just an awkward way to present that, especially. Go ahead, Rudy.
I'm sorry. For a second, I thought it was the father kind of like tracking them and just being there like to help when they needed it. And then there was a mother, but I think that would have been a cool element to have the father there just watching.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but that was something I didn't really. I think I did vaguely bring it up in my review, but that did bother me a lot that Aaron Taylor Johnson never came looking for them. Like to me, it didn't fit with how much he really loved his son, especially. And it bugged me that, obviously we're going to fast forward, but like at the end, he's just sitting there waiting, and then they get the letter, and then he's like, oh no, let me run out now. And it's like, where the fuck were you for the last like 2 days?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we can get there, but since you mentioned it, that was something that bugged me.
Yeah, no, I what I'm remembering most about the second act is when they come across the Swedish guy, the soldier, which funniest stuff I've seen in a very long time. Oh yeah, Eric is his name with a funny R sound. And then the stuff that happened in the train.
Let's talk about that.
Fucking wild. All right, so yeah, we'll bounce around.
Well, before that, we have the thing where the whole group of soldiers that he's with gets decimated by that alpha, and it finally shows him like just grab a fucking skull and pull it out like the Predator. That was awesome.
Yeah. How did they come? Like, how do we get introduced to those soldiers again?
It's kind of random. It felt like they were put in there to have an extra gore scene, to be honest with you. Unless there were, I might be misremembering. It kind of just felt like it cut to them in a dark tunnel, and then it shows all of them get wasted just to show that one of them survived, and then we cut back to them, and then he ends up being the one that saves them.
No,
from
they
that,
were
that-
running from like a herd, and they went into like a drainage ditch, and they ended up in the tunnel.
Okay.
But what they were doing there and why, I don't know. But I
He
do
said they were
like,
shipwrecked or some shit, I
yeah.
think.
But I
Oh,
do like
yeah.
the fact that the world is existing. You know, that they had cell phones. It's like the world we know it as today, but this one island's quarantined. So
Mhm.
we're learning more about the world as it is now. That it's moved on. It's not like over for everybody. It's just small pockets of people.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it seems like the rest of the world is kind of normal because he's
Mhm.
talking about cell phones, and he's like, "You wouldn't know that." He kept asking the kid, like, "Do you? You wouldn't know that. Never mind."
Yeah.
So that was interesting to learn more about what's going on in the rest of the world. Apparently, this infection's kind of isolated here on the island of United Kingdom. So the kid and the mom sneak into like a 7-Eleven, like a gas station mini mart type shop there, and I don't think I understand what that blue smoke shit, which is very flammable. I understand that much, but
It was some kind of buildup, but I don't know. I'm not a scientist either. I was a little confused about how it was only in the top half. Like I know gas rises, but I don't know. Maybe I've seen too many movies where it fills the entire room and it just fucked me up, and that's
Yeah.
more realistic. But yeah, they were choking, and then if they ducked down, they were fine. And then whenever it lights, they're fine if they stay down. I don't know.
Yeah,
We got a firefighter in the chat.
there was a quick line, a quick throwaway line where he says, "Yeah, it was gas that turned into blank, and
Uh-huh.
because it accumulated and stayed in one place for so long."
Mm.
So what that gas is, I don't know.
then why did he shoot into it though? Like it's just
Kill all the infected.
Yeah.
But yeah.
To have a cool scene.
yeah. It was interesting. Again, it was a nice change of pace. The just satirical, dark nature of the Eric characters. I didn't expect to be all about it, but like it seemed like anything he said, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I agree with everything he's saying right now. So they come across this train, and there's a pregnant infected in the train, and she's not attacking. She's kind of doing her own thing there, and she's having a struggle there in her section of the train. And it turns out that, yeah, she's going through some mom shit, and then the mom character decides to parallel her and mirror what she's doing, and then it like to have this hand holding thing.
It's to assist her with pushing
Very
to get her.
Is that really what it is? Because it's very fascinating for a bunch of reasons. My first thought was, oh, she's not attacking the mom. The zombie or the pregnant zombie's not attacking the mom because she is also infected. And like I have this like World War Z mentality of like, oh yeah, you blend in with the rest. And I don't think that was the case because of what we know. But if that isn't the case, then why was there this moment of
I took it as like a mother to mother thing.
Yeah.
Like even if though she's this primal non-human being, it's the same as like how mothers get connected with animals that are giving birth or whatever. Like something
There you
about that connection there is what I got from it, where it's like, yeah, I'm your food technically, but we're gonna connect as moms here for this moment.
Mhm. That's the way I took it. And plus, there was a scene before that where it showed like the infected, like in the river, like like taking baths. I'm like, okay, so maybe they're evolving and like could becoming more civil and not as primal as they once were after 30 years. I'm like, that's what I was thinking as well. Like, okay, there's more of a hierarchy now. There could maybe a shred of humanity is still there now, or it's coming back, and that's what I took away from it.
what are our theories on the pregnancy? Was she a pregnant woman that got infected, or is she an infected that got pregnant?
I have no idea, and that's one of the many things about the evolved infected that I really hope we get some answers, because that was that was one of the big things that I just kind of had to leave an asterisk for in my review, because obviously I would hope they have plans to at least expand upon it in the next film or the third film. But what I loved about the first two films is their take on zombies are infected, very grounded. It's just like, oh, they're just rage. They're just going to rip you apart. And we understood that. We understood how it's transferred. It's transferred very quickly through saliva, blood, whatever. And I never really asked any more questions about the rules of how this works in either of the first two films. But then you get into this one and I'm like, what exactly happened with these bloaters that are walking around eating worms? Is that supposed to be just like a metaphor for the low point
Gluttony.
of society? Like, the homeless or something like that. They're like the homeless zombies. And then with the alpha, it's like, what happened with the alpha? Like, or what are they eating to be fucking Jason Momoa size in more ways than one?
Did the
And
doctor
then,
say something about steroids? Like, the testosterone was like kicked into higher to some males because of the virus,
maybe
and they grew. There was like, again, a lot of like one-liners that came about to explain.
Gotcha. And then the pregnancy thing too, that one's a tough one for me. That one's the toughest of all of them, because if you understand the rules of like, you can turn in an instant just with a little drop of saliva, what exactly is happening where everything that is infected tissue and bodily fluids inside of the mother is not transferring to that baby through the umbilical tube and everything else? Like that really did not make a whole lot of sense to me. And I guess I'd assume we'll get some answers, but that was the big one, where whether she was pregnant before or after, I was like, how does that work?
Yeah.
I need answers.
Well, two things. I think I thought it was the alpha's kid. That's why the alpha was around.
Oh yeah.
I thought the same thing too.
That's what I thought.
He kind of picked up the dead body, like, what the
like,
fuck? This was mine.
And then the doctor, he says it was the magic of the placenta. The placenta was the item that filtered out the virus and had a normal human baby.
Yeah,
so
they did get rid of it quickly. I remember that she definitely made sure to get rid of the placenta. That baby was squeaky clean too, for the record. I don't know how often that happens.
They abandoned 28 weeks later seemingly completely, because that movie was kind of starting to have the whole thing about the genetic immunity and the two colored eyes, and so we could expand it into that. But this movie seems to, without directly saying it, ignore that second film completely.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have questions. I'll just say that.
And there is something of Last of Us type of mentality, because if you're thinking of Ellie in Last of Us, now this baby should be immune, right? Or I don't know. Again, I'm carrying different lore, so
it's all the same.
Yeah, just zombie cinematic universe. So the alpha comes back to discover that his what we're thinking is his lady friend who's the mother of that child. Apparently we're assuming he's the father of that child. And the Swedish soldier dude wants nothing to do with anything going on there. He wants to get rid of the kid. He wants to just get out of there. And unfortunately, he's alpha fodder, and just gets eliminated. And I don't remember, is that the first time we see the dude rip a dude's skull off?
No, it was before that. It was in the tunnel with the rest of his soldier friends, where he grabs a hold of the guy and just slowly pulls it out of him. Yeah. This one, I think he pulls the guy up and then he comes down holding his skull.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think.
Very Sub-Zero like.
Yes, very Mortal Kombat. Get over here. So that was like, I don't know. I kind of grew to like that soldier character in the 5 minutes we spent with him. But that train sequence alone has so much going on. Like we were just discussing, like the many different situations with just a pregnancy alone. And like you brought up, Cody, when the alpha's chasing them and it like stops for a second to check on what's left of the mom zombie corpse, and just kind of like discards it, like, oh, all right, well, there's no baby in this one.
Can we pause, by the way? Sure. I absolutely love the fact that one of the soldiers called them zombies. So for all you infected them actually bitches, there you go.
I missed that. I didn't hear that at all.
I didn't miss shit. He said zombies. I was like, yes, bitch.
Yeah. I think that entire sequence, like everything surrounding that train sequence was was just captivating. It was awesome, and I don't know what I thought was going to happen when the kid and the mom were running, especially when the soldier was taken out. Like, oh, now what? What I will say is the fact that they come across the doctor so quickly in that moment, where like the antidote is a shot of a blow dart full of morphine. Like, I I don't know if I'll say it's a point against the film so much as just like it's convenient that he was both around and has like the way to neutralize them temporarily. How did you guys feel about our discovery of the Doctor and his capabilities?
It didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me at all. I mean, I think that was a nice item. I didn't find it like a cheap gimmick to like as a convenient plot point to have him pause. But I'm like, okay, he's been out here. A doctor has been out here 28 years. Hopefully he's learned something. And little things like that's cool. I mean, we learn a little bit more about this world and how to like pause them. It's like, hey, you slow them down for a little bit, but let's get the hell out of here. So I like that.
I think Ray Fiennes' performance sells it for me.
There you go.
Where he
and him covered in iodine because
very fast acting. Like something about that kind of it gets me into the silliness of it.
Oh, he does say that the sound of shots alerted him. Isn't that what? Am I making that up?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it a little bit better, I guess. It was just I don't know. It just felt convenient. Like oh, the person they're looking for is right there, and now everything's okay.
I will say that at no point in this movie did I feel that something was convenient or cheap. Like, really, we're going to go there. Nothing, in my opinion, felt that way.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's something that like was like devastating for me. It was just like you had to round the corner there a little quickly, but okay. Careful with these in the future. And so the Doctor ends up being a bit weird. He's kind of a bit of everything of what we've heard about him from either the father or the housemate, whatever the old timer who was watching the mom. He said about the Doctor doing weird shit, covered in iodine. That's definitely a first sign of this guy's not all there, but apparently it helps.
It helps.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I'll accept that. And I think is it the kid or the mom? I think the kid asks him about his mother and if he can help. And I remember the Doctor saying that he's out of practice. He just kind of gives like a visual test. And I don't remember how he determined that it was cancer.
Well, he does the little vision thing. He's like, touch my finger, and she's way off, so her vision's a little blurred. And then he touches her lymph nodes and probably felt masses there. I think that was probably the telling factor there. And so he basically says, like, most likely it's this.
I thought she had dementia for a second because
I did too.
The test when he says, I told you to memorize a word, what was it? That's a real test.
Yeah.
And she didn't, so I'm like, okay. But the lymph nodes and the bumps around her breasts and things like that he said, that makes sense. So like,
yeah.
Cancer.
And just like the mutual decision that the mom is looking for an assisted offing there, that was quite powerful. And
yes, it was
the whole third act where like the skull tower, which the Doctor says it. I forgot what the reference was, but he says something about it's memento mori, which is that's a writing tool. For people to, if you have someone in power, you want someone beneath them as a memento mori to remind them, remember, someday you're going to die. To have it in the movie and like, again, like a juxtaposition of the first act where the kid is, being forced, not really forced, but he's kind of not ready for experience and kind of being dragged into it and not really performing up to the requirements of that task. And then here in the third act, very, very heavy shit to go on with this kid where he's bringing his mom to get fixed, and it's actually the worst case scenario. She's dying. Well, the worst case would be she's a zombie. She's dying. She wants to tap out, and this kid, I guess, luckily, is in this doctor's death camp thing where he's learning very, very maturely that we all need to die. Like it happens, and it's our purpose. And they bring the doctor tells the kid, find a place for Eric's skull, and it's still mature yet still kind of sweet and childish. Where he's like, that's a perfect spot for him. It was sweet, and there's a little bit before the mom just kind of nods to the doctor, and it basically says, I don't remember exactly how, if it's even said or if it's more just like a visual cue, because
Yeah, it was nonverbal, just like a head nod.
yeah, because they give the kid like the morphine or whatever to kind of make him wonky, and then she gets the blow dart, and within 5 minutes, the doctor comes back with a freshly clean skull. Extremely powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And for as much as the kid was not prepared in the first act and was kind of honest about, Dad, I missed, like whatever you're talking about, I missed, to counter that and kind of be really mature about everything that's going on in the third act with his mother. I was bowled over by just how impressed I was with just the bookends of handling that kid's character, and at his arc alone in the movie, where I could have swore at the beginning of the movie that kid was going to get someone killed. I guess technically he did with his mother, but it was more of a voluntary thing. And I guess we'll get to the very end after this. But Cody, what were your thoughts on things that happened in this third act here with the doctor?
That was probably the act of the film I was most interested in. Not only just because Ray Fiennes, and even when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on with that fucking guy. But the visual, like the set design of the bone temple, like there was just a lot there where I'm like, man, I want to know a lot about this. And luckily the second film has already been titled The Bone Temple. So I think it's going to focus quite a bit on that setting and Ray Fiennes' character. But yeah, I mean, that was where a lot of the most emotional stuff came, where the kid really has to kind of come to terms with things, and there's a lot of really interesting, poignant conversations about acceptance of death and mourning, and remember death and remember life. And it's interesting that you have a kid that was very much hell-bent, like, I'm going to throw everything into the fucking wind to save this woman. And just with some philosophical conversation with a doctor, he gets all the acceptance that he needs. So that was interesting, as well as just like the, very quiet emotional exit of Jodie Comer's character, who I think was the best performance in the film, by the way. Where, among a lot of great performances, but where, they blow dart the kid, and she, gives the nod to do that, to kind of let him down easy. And then she just kind of walks into the darkness while he puts her out of her misery, and then comes back with the skull. And I thought it was kind of a grotesquely beautiful thing that he brings the skull back, and the skull still has just a little bit of flesh on it. It wasn't as clean as all the other ones. There was still just a little something there. I don't know if that detail was meant to be anything significant, but I was like, oh, why is that? Like, it just stood out to me. And then the kid climbing up and putting it on top of the temple. Like, there's something really cool and emotional and grotesque and all those, different things about that whole third act. So like, I could have spent a whole movie just on that. And that's the one thing that excites me the most about this next film, is I think we're going to get a lot of that, or at least, dive into more of that.
Rudy?
For me, that's when I kind of cried a little bit, because, letting go of a parent, man, and that sucks. And for being that young, not understanding things, and not many movies. I mean, there's a lot of death in a lot of movies, and not many movies have any. I can't think of any right now. Have a poignant description of death and what it means and how we're all going to end up there, and the transition of being alive one moment and then the next you're holding somebody right here their skull,
Mm.
with how life is just so fast and things could just change. But it's beautiful and it's tragic, but it's also real, because life is fragile, and I love how it speaks to all those themes. The score kicked in at that scene. That's where it really hit me. And just understanding that there was nothing they could have done. I mean, in this world, you couldn't treat it, and nowadays you can hardly treat it, right? So for her to go out the way she wanted, in a peaceful way, no pain, and for her son to at least have a moment to say goodbye and to remember her for who she was before it happening. Beautiful. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in a movie in this year.
Oh yeah.
It really had.
Yeah, and again, going back to how much the father was trying to prepare his son for
Yeah.
things that he didn't quite live up to, the legend that was being made about him, and I found it ironic that something that he needed to learn, he ends up hearing from someone who isn't either of his parents, learning about we all need to die, dying has to happen, and like having to hear it from this doctor person, which just an hour later, an hour earlier, we're being told that he's a lunatic, and apparently lunatic or not, he's got really important information for the kid, and of all things, this doctor character helps the kid grow with something that he was trying to prevent right up until that moment. I think the third act is absolutely my favorite. So much shit pays off for a first act that I wasn't really. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't incredibly fond of it. Again, I probably need to see the beginning again with lights on or whatever. How do we feel? I kind of cruised past it, but the alpha shows up again, and Ray Fiennes' character has like this underground cage thing that he's able to hide in. Do we think that Ray Fiennes' character knows a bit more about the alpha, or is it strictly down to alpha's looking for his baby?
I think
Good
both.
point.
I think
I don't
both.
know.
I think the alpha is tracking the baby, but I also think that Ray Fiennes has either got a fascination or he knows something more about the alphas, because twice they incapacitate him and he doesn't do what they can to kill the alpha. They're just like, oh, hurry up. We only got so
Yeah.
long before he wakes up again.
Hmm.
To that point, is the alpha that's chasing Aaron Taylor Johnson and the kid that eventually gets hit with that huge bolt or whatever, it takes him down. Does that kill him, or is it still the same alpha that's chasing him in the third act and the second act of the film?
They all look like Jason Momoa. I
That's
don't know.
what my confusion was. I don't know if there's multiple alphas that look similarly, or if that's the same alpha. Because I'm wondering if the alphas are, at least to this point, they haven't figured out a way to kill them, and that would excuse away why every time they morphine dart him, they don't bother trying to kill him, because it's fucking impossible.
I thought it was a different one.
It might be,
one
but
was
I'm not
slimmer,
sure.
the other one was bulkier with more hair.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that last one, the first one we talking about, where they shoot that huge arrow through his chest, I thought that killed him
It's like
because they were
might
able
Thor.
to let them in. Yeah, but that the huge like dragon arrow from like a Lord of the Rings, they shot him through the heart, so that put him down. But I thought there was more. Like each animal species has multiple alphas, right?
It would make more logic sense just for the plot of the film if they can kill them, because then it'd be like, what is it? An alpha could just take out the whole community then.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was curious about why Ray Fiennes would dart them and then not do anything to get rid of them, because they're just going to wake up and then be just as much of a threat. But yeah, I think another major question that hopefully we get some answers to in part 2 and don't have to wait for part 3.
The way I thought, like he's a doctor, so maybe like also like a scientist in a way, like when he's studying these people. Like you wouldn't go into the jungle and kill an alpha lion, because you kill the alpha, it can mess up the tribe or maybe put like the other people in danger. So maybe he's just observing them, because he's been in this world 30 years, right? 28 years. So maybe he's just kind of observing them, learning them. Again, we don't know. I'm speculating, but that's the way I saw it, because he's a doctor. He wouldn't want to kill an alpha of a pride or tribe, whatever. So that can like put things in a bad spot.
I think there's definitely something there's something there because the relationship between the Doctor, Ray Fiennes' character, and the Alpha is it seems a bit more than surface level. There's something there that like you said, I hope we get a little bit more on that. And I'll be honest, I don't remember how we get from the kid saying goodbye to his mom and putting her skull on top of the Christmas tree of skulls. I don't remember how we get from that to the big finale there, the epilogue where we find Jimmy. What is the segue between those moments?
Ray Fiennes tells the kid that I think it's time for you to go home or something along those lines, and so it shows the kid goes back through, journeys back out of this area by himself and basically leaves the baby with a note at the gate.
Oh, right, at the father's
And
house.
so, no, just at the gate. So they hear the crying, they open the gate, they find the baby, they find the note, they give the note to Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, right.
He reads it, and he's monologuing what he wrote in the note in the end, basically saying that he's going to go off for a while. He doesn't know when or if he's going to come back, but take care of this baby, and then gives it the same name as his mother, and says that she's from an infected, but she's not infected. And then Aaron Taylor Johnson runs, and the tide's already taken out the path, and he yells his son's name, and then it shows the kid trying to cook a fish, and a zombie comes towards him, and he is confident now and hits him with one hit, hits him in the head the way he couldn't in the first act. And then there's more, and he gets chased away, and then we get the Power Rangers.
Yeah. So we didn't go through it earlier, but in the first act, when the father and son are like on their little hunting trip, they come across a body hanging upside down in an upside down crucifix type situation where on the body, the name Jimmy is carved into that body, which I guess is quite pertinent for the big finale there. Jimmy, who I thought he was wearing a priest outfit, but I guess he's wearing an all black outfit with the crucifix from the pastor in the beginning, except he's changed it to be an upside down crucifix, and he kind of jumps. No, he asks the kid if he wouldn't mind if they take over from there, and then there's a bunch of backflips and
Go Power Rangers.
Some interestingly dressed young people that wear like heavy metal plays, and I could swear it was like a heavy metal version of
the Teletubby song.
It is, yeah. Thank you. So like that was my connection because they were so brightly dressed. I was like, oh, okay, so they're mimicking. These are the kids from the beginning, and they're mimicking the Teletubbies.
Yep. I thought the kids were all dead.
We didn't see them die technically.
Okay. Yeah. We'll find out.
Yeah. So I'm glad you agree, Rudy, but Cody, you're the first person I heard this from. Can you share the theory that you've come across about the interesting colors that this gang of Jimmy's disciples are wearing?
I mean, it's some kind of a mix with commentary where they're very direct visual reference to Jimmy Savile, who I have never heard of in my life. This is just me researching what the fuck that ending meant, and I get that this is kind of like the Monkey UK singer movie where everybody in America is like, who? And everybody in the UK is like, are you fucking kidding me? It's kind of one of those things. Like most people in the US have never heard of this guy, but in the UK, he's a big major deal. It's like the fall of Bill Cosby level.
Yes, perhaps worse.
Yes, and so it's a guy that you could do your own research on him, but not a good guy. And so they're kind of, I guess, to the best of my understanding and the things that I've read, kind of putting ideas together, is we're going to see it expanded on in the second film because Danny Boyle's already said they're a major piece of it. But with the name, with the look, and with referencing how they're very much taken, something from the Teletubbies, and this guy was very directly involved with children's television. I don't know if they're making some kind of a commentary on the effect of programming on kids and how it turns out for this group where that's all they've known is just what TV has taught them versus what this primitive society is teaching kids over here, and like this this expectation of masculinity. I really don't know. There's no clean explanation where I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's just like ideas of what people are saying. I'm like, okay, maybe, I don't know. Like when I saw it, I was just like, what the fuck? What is going on?
Well, I'm sorry, you were done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was done.
First off, I want to be clear. When I first saw that, it pissed me off, and I hated the ending, and I hated the movie. And then I walked out, and I'm like, okay, let me think about this. Like, what the hell are they trying to communicate here? Like, why? I'm in the car, and I'm like, okay, those kids are obviously from the kids from the beginning. And what were they doing? They were watching Teletubbies, right? And now we see them as adults, and they're dressed in color. So everyone was saying Power Rangers. I'm like, no, they're dressed as Teletubbies. I'm like, why would they do that?
The karate and shit.
Yeah, it was all that shit. Like
the way that it cuts the
And I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, and then I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going with Lord of the Flies, but the kids never got saved. In other words, you have a bunch of kids who saw the world end, and they just grew up on this island trying to adapt and live and become adults. And what will that look like? 28 years of no adult supervision. Nobody to tell you what you're doing is wrong. And what are they going to gravitate to? They're probably going to gravitate to something that they hold dear and that reminds them of something like innocent, like nostalgia. We all hold nostalgia dear to us, right? So maybe they're holding on to that by addressing what they once saw as wholesome and what was once part of them, the innocence of them. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're going with something like that. Like, for example, if I was a kid and I was watching the Justice League and the world went to shit, I probably would wear like a Superman cape or something like that because I'm a kid. And that's the last thing that I remember that my parents and my mom and dad were around. So I'm going to gravitate to that. So maybe that's what they're doing with an elaborate Lord of the Flies type of story. And I'm down for that. And when I finally thought about that, I'm like, okay, that I'm reaching, but I think that's plausible. And we'll see what happens. So that's when aside from that little skit, the whole movie was great. And we'll see their jumping off point here to the next movies and see what they do.
I think thematically, it makes sense for them to reference Jimmy Savile, except the problem is you don't really mention him at all during the movie. I think thematically it plays into the fact of finding something or not knowing the truth about someone that you've looked up to as a child, where I guess in this universe, because Jimmy Savile was found out in the 2010s, but he was doing it, all through the 1900s. So if we're of the mentality that 2002 is when everything popped off, I guess you wouldn't know the truth about Jimmy Savile. But the problem is we don't really know who he is in that universe, nor do they tell us in this movie that this is directly Jimmy Savile. And why to tie it into the visuals of the Teletubbies? And I like, it's an interesting touch, unless there's like some deleted scenes or something. I don't know how someone could come to that conclusion on the movie we have access to.
I'm sorry, I don't know who Jimmy Savile is, but why are we assuming that that's what they're going for? Because of the look and the name?
Apparently.
I mean, I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know what he did.
If you just Google him right now, it's literally the exact same outfits.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Danny Boyle has said it himself, but like as soon as the movie came out on
my battery just died. How the hell did that happen? Give me a second.
Shit. As soon as the movie as soon as Friday hit, that was the explanation everywhere from everybody in the UK. Like it was so obvious and on the nose to anybody in Britain, I guess, or at least most people. I still had some people that they thought it was weird. But yes, Charles, it was heavily foreshadowed throughout the entire film. I'm surprised you didn't pick up on
it. I know you're doing a thing, but did anyone explain where it was foreshadowed? Because no. That's interesting.
No.
Trust me, bro. Okay, so we're going on. It's foreshadowed. Trust me, bro. I mean, again, to fit the theme of, kids having to learn things on their own, based on something that, what they're experiencing is quite different than reality. For the sake of like thematically what's happening in the movie, yes. But as far as what we've seen. There's like, I don't have any sort of connection to that. And I don't know, I have like a voluntary UK understander card, and even Emily didn't pick up on that immediately. If anything, when we left, the first thing we were talking about with that ending was, oh, those are definitely those kids from the Teletubby scene, because they're all like, if anything, the outfits were pretty obvious to let you know that they were mimicking those ridiculous outfits of the Teletubbies. We didn't have any sort of discussion about Jimmy Savile. If anything, it was, oh, the person who was hanging upside down, he had Jimmy tattoo or carved into his chest. So these people aren't exactly totally, for the right cause. So this is interesting. I'm kind of intrigued to see where this goes next.
There was some graffiti that when the father and son first go hunting, there's some graffiti that speaks to Jimmy. It's in the trailer. I have to find what it says, but they speak to it in the graffiti.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Cillian Murphy's going to be in the second film too, so I wonder if he's going to be in that gang or somebody that's dealt with them before. He's going to be a part of it. Jacob in the chat says, I think a lot of the criticism I've seen online is a bit unfair, but I can see why the B-roll footage and the ending bugged people. The B-roll footage was completely unnecessary, in my opinion. I appreciate the fact that you can say that, because so many people are acting like it's just bewildering how anybody could have any issues with this film. And it's just like, what? Even if you love it, it's so obvious. There's so many divisive creative choices here. Why they wouldn't work for some people. It's so maddening. It's such a self-righteous thing where it's just like, oh, I mean, obviously it's a masterpiece. It's perfect. And it's
I
like,
wouldn't say self-righteous though. I just say it's a choice. I wouldn't go that far.
I'm saying self-righteous to think like, if you liked the movie, to act like everybody else that didn't love it is like on crack.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I sent you guys a screenshot of the trailer.
Behold, he is coming with the clouds, and like the name Jimmy is kind of scratched off to the side of behold, comma Jimmy, he is coming with the clouds.
Huh.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand how that would connect to Jimmy Savile.
I don't know, man. Like that's the thing that I'm most confused on. Like some of that, I don't know if it's really just as simple as I'm American, and so I'm not putting the pieces together because I didn't grow up with him being in my culture. I don't know how much of it is just that he's literally just like this much of the movie, and any significance to that reference is all going to be in the second film. Is it just going to be a surface level thing where Jimmy Savile is really irrelevant? It's just like a visual wink and nod, like, yeah, it's kind of in there, but it's not.
Did the directors, and I mean, did Danny Boyle, the writer, say, yes, we are kind of going off this Jimmy guy?
The only thing I've seen Danny Boyle reference is that he was trying to do something like Kubrick, like the Groods, or the Droogs, excuse me, like Clockwork Orange. I have not seen any interview. Maybe one exists where he's actually directly named Jimmy Savile, but like the moment this movie came out, it was just everybody was from the UK was just like, oh, like, does anybody from the US know who this guy is? Like it very quickly was.
I do, but
I did not. That's why I asked you. I was like, do you know who this is? And you were like, yeah, relevance. And I'm like, yeah, end of the movie we just watched. Weird, isn't it?
Emily's a UK citizen. Didn't really hit her immediately. Why not? If this is a very clear reference to him, why not, instead of the Teletubbies, play footage? If you're not going to be able to play footage of him, because he had a very similar show, a children's show where like he would do Make-A-Wish type shit. It was a nighttime show. It was called Jimmy'll Fix It, and play clips from that. Or if you can't get that for legal reasons, do like a copycat version of that. Like if it's that simple and that to the point, why even do the Teletubby thing? Like it doesn't add up to me. Like if it's this under this 2 layers down thing, that's one thing, fine. Like if you got to dig deep for it, extra credit, fine. But I don't think it's like it's there in the text for everyone to see. I don't think that's true, because like, so what if you're not?
I think the arrival of Jimmy is the only thing that you could say is foreshadowed. And it is foreshadowed very heavily. Like you see the beginning of the movie, you're like, okay, at some point this is going to come back into significance.
Yes.
You see the graffiti, you see the carved names, you're like, okay, who the fuck's Jimmy and when are we going to find out? And then you find out at the end of the film. That is foreshadowed. Everything else about this sequence, no. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the relevance to Jimmy Savile, like so he has the same name. Other than that, like
I think people are just reaching.
That's I tend to agree. Like I'd like it to be like it. Like again, it helps the thematic thing. Knowing what happened with Jimmy Savile, that he was something very different in public, and what we found out about him is he's quite the liar, quite a despicable person. It kind of fits into the story, but without giving us anything that he is a part of the story. It's like you're just kind of shoehorning into that. Someone brought up earlier about the plot hole about the Alpha. I'm not familiar with the plot hole of the Alpha. Have either of you heard anything about?
I have not. But while whoever asked that, if you could elaborate, and we'll wait for you to give us some context. But while we're waiting, do either of you guys have a significant issue with any movie or show that brings a baby into a zombie or a monster apocalypse? Because aside from maybe A Quiet Place, where they still have to do some serious reaching and explanation on how it's plausible, that's something that's always a very, very hard hill for me to get over, where it's like you have to be whisper quiet to maybe survive this world. And every time they do it, it's the quietest fucking baby and it's ever existed. Like, never whine, never cry, never shits its pants, never hungry. And so like it's one of those things you just have to forgive it and move on if you want to go on the ride for the movie. But as soon as they brought the baby in, I was like, oh.
I mean, hold on.
Go on, Rudy.
Okay, you have to care about the people in a zombie movie to give a shit and to enjoy yourself, right? So who doesn't care about a baby? You throw a baby in this space. You son of a bitch. No, like
you're my number one customer.
I know. God damn it. No, who doesn't care about a baby? It just increases the stakes and you just want it to be safe and the people that are around it to care for it. So it just adds more of like an increased investment from the audience. It's like, oh God, now we really don't want anything to happen to these people. So
no, for sure. That's for sure. Like that is an element where you add a little bit of extra tension, a little bit of extra investment. The logical side of my brain always gets aggravated whenever we do this, where it's just like, you're really going to try to tell me that this fucking kid made it all the way back to his village without that baby screaming or crying or getting him into a situation once. And like, I don't know, that's something where you have to be very careful when you put it in a movie like this. And even A Quiet Place, where that's the whole plot of the movie, like they had to do so much shit to even halfway get you to buy into it. There's a box with an oxygen mask and, all these different things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very like plot armory, where at no point does that baby ever really cause a gigantic fucking issue in these movies. And just, I don't know. It takes the grounded nature of the first two films and it adds just a little extra bullshit in there, which I'm always a little.
Yeah, they should have watched Lost World when they tried taking the little T-Rex baby and how much trouble that gets them in. Same difference. I mean,
I thought they were going to go with the Lost World thing when they took that baby from that mother, and the Alpha was going to be after them.
Yeah,
like, here's your baby.
Please leave us alone. I think it's interesting. Like, there's moments where I thought it was cheap because we're going to have a zombie baby because it's been done a couple of times now. You think of the Dawn of the Dead remake where we have a baby and there's this turn. But the fact that we don't really know what the deal with the baby is enough for me to like forgive some of the, I don't know, the flair in which that they're trying to get your emotions going. And yeah, I can understand it, but it's not really a make or break thing for me. Melissa,
it didn't break the movie, but it's just I don't know. It's like what's the term? It's a bugaboo for me, where I'm like,
a bugaboo.
Yeah. Even like in A Quiet Place, where they show like they fast forward and it shows her with a pregnant belly. I'm like, No dick control.
Right.
No dick control in the apocalypse.
Melissa,
Fucking zombies running around. It's nothing but blowjobs from now on. Hard rule.
pull out at least. Jeez. I had asked how come alphas haven't overrun the island yet. That's all I kept thinking in the chase sequence. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to on trying to figure out if we decided if that alpha was killed by that bolt or just incapacitated. I kind of thought it was too, but I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to see how much you can discern between Alpha 1 and Alpha 2.
Because they said an alpha, they didn't say the alpha. So I just assumed like there was a few of them out there. So, and they stood out in many ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the cinematography.
When are we going to talk about that? I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, there was quite a bit of nudity.
What the fuck is that?
From penis to vagina.
I can do it too.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't have the dick one.
quite a bit of oh,
Do me a favor and hold that up so I can see your cock.
we're just
Just shut the fuck up and do it already.
ooh, that's a new
What?
one. I like it.
That's Joel. Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to get one that says I'm gonna be a dad. Get that at awkward moments.
If I do have a complaint about the third act is that it I guess if there were no other movies coming, it would feel ambiguous because we don't really know what's happening. With this Jimmy cult or whatever. But it's something of a cliffhanger pseudo cop out as far as I'm concerned. We only have to wait till January, which, it's not that long, but
Don't get pushed back.
it's not complete. As far as, if you were to only watch this movie, sure, it's something of an ambiguous ending, but it's not a complete story where you could say that for 28 days and weeks. I don't know. Again, 3.5 out of 5 for me. It's not like it's devastating for me. It's just something where could you just wrap a bow around this story and then, leave things for the future?
Two things. It did its job as far as the tonal shift of the movie. Like we're all like, what the fuck is this? Because it was a perfect ending. It was wrapping up and then they throw this in there and they intentionally did that. But my second part is I'm asking you guys and the chat, would this have been better as a post-credits scene?
Yes.
In other words, the movie ends with the kid credits and then we get this piece with the Power Rangers. It would have been better.
Because it's so tonally removed from everything that came before it. I feel like if you end with, the score going on and everything from him leaving the Bone Temple and leaving the daughter and having the voice monologue and telling his dad and kind of giving you a hint of where he's going. And then, get some credits and then show him, maybe end with him shooting the thing in the head and he's confident and now he's completed his coming of age, his rite to passage or whatever. And then have a post-credit scene where he's getting chased. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
It still would be like goofy as fuck. And a lot of people would be like, what happened? But it wouldn't feel as jarring because there'd be that little 2 minutes of separation.
It's absolutely jarring because like the entire third act is like, Ray Fiennes' character basically saying death is important, death is necessary. And like we're losing this major character, and then it's like, all right, well, on to the next phase. Where it's like, wait a minute, we just spent 40 minutes talking about how important death is, and we just experienced death. That was something that we were trying to prevent for the first half of the movie, and now, okay, on to my life now. I think if you had cut those two up and made it an epilogue, made it a post-credit scene, and kind of make
would have been better,
right? Make it something. Just a little separate from, again, that tonal shift is probably what the big deal is.
I got to go back and remember because the character of Jimmy, the priest, I thought the priest was his father, but he tells him something. He gives him the cross. I forgot what he says because there's so much shit going on.
He says that's what it's basically that's the second coming, or this is the the rapture or whatever. I forget. There's some reference to like this
Yeah.
is us being saved, like the zombies or whatever is.
Yeah, and then
yeah.
the kid hearing that, thinking that he survived rapture. So does that mean that in his mind he thinks he's the second coming of Christ, or he's like a chosen one,
or he's been abandoned?
Like that's interesting. So I can't wait to see that in the next one.
Yeah. So Rudy, you, without giving it a score, had like your thoughts once again on 28
Thumbs
years.
up.
Thumbs
up. I did scores for years, but then every movie was always like a 4 out of 5, like a 3.5 or 4 or something like that. Like, I'm gonna just go thumbs up. I liked it. Go see it. If you like the other two, go see this one. That's my recommendation.
Oh yeah, I would say it's worth a watch at the very least. I have not heard someone say like 1 out of 5. I've not heard someone just absolutely.
Oh, that's all over TikTok. This is the stupidest movie of the year. Oh my god. Yes, just
my comment section's bipolar as fuck too. Like every comment's
Yeah.
either like this was a masterpiece or like this is the worst zombie movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, or the worst movie, period. And I'm like,
Stop.
what part? I get the ending kind of ruining things for you, but there was a good 2 hours and 50 minutes. 1 hour and 50 minutes of a great story. So, you're going to let that one little segment just ruin the movie and call this the worst movie you've ever seen.
Well, that's part of the reason why discourse is so fucking miserable on movies.
Yeah.
And you get standouts once or twice a year like this one where it's more inflammatory than ever. And it's because so much of movie discourse has turned into this binary. It's either a masterpiece that made me come in the theater or it's the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life and fuck everybody that liked it and nothing in between. And God forbid you get somebody that tries to come in with a nuanced opinion like myself and is like, there's some great things here. It was shot well. There's some really good storytelling. Characters, acting was great. Really weird editing choices. I don't know if the tonal shifts completely work. The ending, what the fuck is that? Like anything in the middle, people's brains short circuit. They don't know how to fucking interpret that information. And so then they just categorize, oh, you hated it. It was 3.5. Oh yeah, you hated it. Or, if you liked it, but you have criticisms for it, like you're a hater or, it's mind numbing. Absolutely mind numbing that has taken over discourse. But
I think that's the problem with especially internet discourse where it's superlatives. It's either got to be the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. And anything in between is just like, you're not sure of yourself.
Yeah, you're fence sitting.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think they're just trying to get the clicks because you know how things go viral and it's the extreme or the worst, or I can't believe I saw this. Those takes get traction. The middle ground don't.
Yeah.
That's the sad reality of fucking Twitter. That's why I stay off of it.
Open up to the chat if you guys have anything to say. I'll catch up with the super chats. Thank you. Marcy says I'm confused. Either it was Blur or Power Rangers. I'm assuming that's the song. I could have swore it was like a heavy metal cover of
Teletubbies.
Teletubbies. Yeah.
Teletubbies. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I don't think it was Blur. I mean, it could be.
Woohoo! That song? No.
Yeah, that's that band. That's Blur. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Song number 2.
As a fan of the first 2 movies, I was disappointed that In the House in a Heartbeat was not played once in the movie.
That's the main theme. I was too, and it's funny. I was so like put off and confused about what I had saw in so many ways that it didn't even dawn on me until I got out of the theater that never played because that's such a huge piece. And I don't know, it's one of those weird things too, because like I don't think Danny Boyle has come out and said that he doesn't like 28 Weeks Later, but very clearly they don't feel beholden to it. And so maybe that score was never meant to be like the 28 series score, but because it got used in 28 Weeks Later, that's our expectation. And that was just another way of him like going against like, this is a standalone. We're doing our own thing. We're going to reinvent.
It's so great though.
It is.
Oh, it is. Man. One of the best.
It would have worked really good in either the chase sequence or either of the chase sequences, either when he's with the mom or with the dad.
I'm trying to think of this song that, like, again, I have not seen Weeks in a very long time.
It's the song that plays in the climax of the first film, and then it plays a couple times in the second film. But like,
it just slowly rises.
As soon as you could play 2 notes of it, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a guitar. Like it's fucking awesome.
I saw there's more, Marcy. For some reason, it's not on here. I'll have to rewind over here. Power Rangers. It's a shame. If I wrote the script, I would have made the antidote Walmart filter coffee.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the take of the night.
Put that on the poster. Marcy says, I gave the movie 0 out of 5 because it didn't have In a Heartbeat repeat throughout the movie, and Big Daddy Kane didn't show up in the movie. All right, so you guys are big fans of the In a Heartbeat song.
It's Big Daddy Kane.
He's a rapper, right?
Marcy
What's
has
the
some interesting
significance?
takes every now and again.
Well,
I also love Aaron Taylor Johnson in Bullet Train. I have not seen Bullet Train yet. What are your thoughts on Aaron Taylor Johnson as an actor, talent-wise? I think he's good. I think he's too exposed as an actor now to portray James Bond as a lesser-known actor, but I think him as Kick-Ass is still my fave.
no. He was great in Nosferatu, and he was good here as a father.
I like him.
Great performance. Yeah.
I liked him in Avengers, whatever the
Age of
shit.
Ultron.
Yeah.
Yes, Quicksilver. Yeah.
Not
Did not see that coming.
yeah, not an incredibly memorable movie, but I liked his performance. I'm not especially attached to him as an actor one way or another. I have not seen Bullet Train yet, so I don't know. I would say it's inspiring that we now have we can film a blockbuster level movie on an iPhone or a prosumer camera like with the creator for aspiring filmmakers. I would say, though, Soderbergh's Unsane didn't do it for me. Yeah.
Is that the Ghost movie? I enjoyed that one.
No, that's
Unsane is from like
the mental hospital.
7 or 8 years ago. Where
Oh.
you had the chick who felt like she was being stalked.
That was
And
the
it
first movie shot with that iPhone, right?
Correct, and that was
Yeah.
like quite a few generations ago. So
Tangerine
maybe
was
not-
shot with an iPhone, but
okay,
But-
well, there you go.
Which one?
Tangerine wasn't. It might. So, Unsane might have been the first wide release. Tangerine was an independent film directed by Sean Baker, who directed Honora. And,
Yeah, that movie.
And if anything, Tangerine doesn't look like Unsane looks like an iPhone movie. Tangerine doesn't. A lot of shit you do in post production. I was also a heck of confused when they announced Cillian Murphy was going to show up in 28 years later, and then saying he's not. Like, was that a rumor? Because I don't remember them like outright
I
saying.
always remember them saying he was going to be in the second film. I don't ever remember hearing them say he was going to be in this one. I think he was announced as a producer. But I could be wrong, but I have only ever seen them saying he shows up in the second film, and I think he's supposed to be the lead of the third film, but I know for a fact he's in the second film. So I never expected him to show up. If anything, I figured maybe he'd show up at the very end to be our tail into the second film, like our Nick Fury moment, but
Why does that make me laugh?
Rudy, did you expect
That would have been so cheap. We're putting a team together.
hey kid, you're a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Just-
That would have ruined it for me. That would've
yeah. Anything that's like Marvel is we were at fucking here, and then fucked it up.
thumbs down.
Yeah.
just thinking of the Rage zombie that looked like Cillian Murphy had lost a lot of weight. I remember everyone like me thought that was Cillian Murphy in the trailer. Apparently, that actor
they
was
debunked that.
Yeah, that actor was also in 28 Days Later too. Danny Boyle said that actor who got the close-up shot was someone they used in 28 Days Later too, but because of his thinness, not because of his likeness to Cillian Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since we have the cat of the bag already, let me say that I was real surprised that Liam Gallagher and Damon Albarn showed up as zombies in the end scene. I didn't recognize either of them.
I don't know who that is. You say Liam Gallagher, and
That's
I'm thinking
one of
Shameless.
Oasis.
And the guy from Oasis?
Yep.
I said, you say that, and I think of Shameless. So very different fandom.
Sorry, guys, haven't introduced me properly. Hi, chat. How are you all doing? My name is Marcus Martinez. Well, sorry to do that backwards, but it should be caught up now, and I'll catch up with the chat. So I saw one that Melissa said that because Melissa was the one who asked about the plot hole. Melissa said, disliked enough for me to not be interested in the next one, which is kind of damning.
there's gonna-
me.
I think there's going to be a lot of that. So I really hope they get the ball rolling on 3 and don't wait for 2, because with this one being so divisive, I don't think the next one's going to do nearly as good. This one had a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation for it, and conservatively, we'll say 30% of people that walked out of it have lost interest in the second one.
Simply because of the ending?
No, just in general, a lot of things about it. It wasn't the movie they expected.
That's on them.
Well,
Well, I mean,
they're releasing it in January, so it's that doesn't scream confidence.
With
to
my
begin
Silent
with.
Hill 2 movie, so I'm like, ugh.
I don't think January is the kiss of death anymore. I think that we're kind of no, for real, because we've had a lot of movies released in January. We had Scream 5 released in January. There's been a number of them where, yes, there's a dumping ground aspect to it still, but also it's a very low competition. So it's not unheard of for a studio to put a movie there that they're confident in, that they want to have January and February kind of as their playing ground for a bit.
I partially agree with you. I disagree with you for the first 6 weeks. It seems like the first moment of like confidence is Valentine's Day, where like you may not have, summer confidence, but like you think you can win a weekend. So Valentine's Day is usually the holiday that like you've got a romance movie and let's put up our horror that we're kind of proud of. So I partially disagree with you. I think January is still just a little concerning. And you do have
Historically, yes, but a bit like Cody, as of late, didn't the Invisible Man come out in January, or the
Invisible Man
Wolf.
did.
Oh
I love
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Not that I'm crazy about Megan, but I'm pretty sure Megan was a January movie. Like horror has shifted it a little bit, as I've said. Like, yes, you still have that kind of stigma to it where it's like Silent Hill. I don't think they're putting it in January because of the reason I said. I think they think it's probably not going to do very well. But it would scream very weird to me to have 28 weeks later, all this buildup behind it. They have the confidence to greenlight 2 movies back to back. They're seeing the financial return on this thing in one weekend almost, and then to say, yeah, just dump it in January. It doesn't fit the narrative to me.
Yeah, it's weird because 30 million's that's the estimate for this weekend, for the record. So Lilo and Stitch is at 37.5. 28 years later, second, again, estimate with 30. That Pixar movie Elio is half of what 28 years later is doing. So I don't know how to gauge that. Granted, Final Destination a couple weeks ago did 50. I wouldn't call that a failure by any stretch. And maybe it's just like the UK element is kind of confusing for an American audience. Maybe.
Possibly.
I think, maybe it's just the fact that 28 weeks later was a little bit more American, a little bit more mainstream, not quite as artsy as 28 days. And I would say 28 years is significantly more artsy than 28 days. So I think when you look at the trajectory of kind of where these movies are going, and really the trajectory of where the zombie subgenre has gone over the last 18 years, people walk into a zombie film and the trailer really doesn't do anything to dissuade you that it's not going to be that type of film. You walk in with certain expectations, and this is very much against that. For some people, they love that. It's like, yeah, they came back and they did their own thing with it, and it was like, fuck the norm. We're gonna, go in some weird directions, and they love it. And then other people are like, what is this? This is odd. And I get both sides of it, and I'm kind of in the middle on it.
Yeah. Matt says, I love when films are this divisive. It's better than a movie that's just forgettable. I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, I said something to that effect in my review where, it's nice sometimes when we all walk into a movie that has that like 4-quadrant appeal where everybody likes it, but nobody's like jazzed about it. Like, it's not like your instant favorite movie. And then you get a movie like this where it's kind of a dice roll. But if it's a reward, like if you walk out as somebody that like, damn, I'm on the end that really liked that, it's almost, you almost treasure it more than, you know, watching the latest Marvel film or whatever that everybody kind of high-fived on, or at least they used to. But there is a difference. I'm kind of that way. Like a lot of my favorite movies of all time, aside from, you know, maybe some of the top fives or whatever, like there's a lot of them in there where they're kind of the underknown movies or underrated movies that I hold close to the chest because it's not everybody else's favorite.
My favorite movie I saw this week is something that not many people have watched yet. And I don't know if it's my Friday the 13th goggles or what, but Marshmallow is something that I kind of want people to see and see what the reaction to it is. Because
Marshmallow, huh?
Yeah.
Is it on demand?
Yes. If you can, don't look into anything. It's a slasher. It feels like Friday the 13th meets Stranger Things. And it's a horror sci-fi.
Okay.
That is all I will say. And I would recommend being as naked into it as possible. Yes, that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna screenshot this and so me and the wife can watch this. Always looking for a good flick at night.
I'm not going to put my name on it, but
No.
I would say give it a shot.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
I mean, we're into that at night. We watched crazy. We rented Nicolas Cage's movie Surfer that just came out.
I keep meaning to watch that, and I
It's okay. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but I love Nick Cage movies. He's always going to get my money. I'll give it a shot.
It's weird.
Yeah, it was very Twilight Zone-ish, which I can appreciate that. I mean, Mandy is one of my favorite movies ever, and that's artsy, and not many people like it, but I play that soundtrack all the time.
That score is incredible.
Movie. Oh, dude, yeah, awesome score.
Sean says 3.5 out of 5. Good movie has issues. Manny, right there with Charles, give it 3.5 out of 5. Eric, 3 out of 5. And why? Melissa says, why are we holding hands with a zombie while she gives birth? That kind of took me out.
Because motherhood.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to interpret it. Yeah.
I mean, giving birth goes back to the beginning of time. So I think no matter where you're from, I think just women, when they see that, they connect to each other that in a way that us guys can understand. So I think that was just a female moment between two people. And I can live with that. I don't need further explanation about that. Birth is something every woman does. I mean, in that sense.
Yeah. There's a bunch that I feel like this is a movie that if you watch with the director's commentary or I think there's more to learn from this movie, which is I prefer it when something has a bit more to it on a multiple watch. The problem is when you don't want to watch it a second time, that's where things kind of get lost. But I'm fascinated enough to see what else, especially the fucking scenes I saw nothing of. Marcy says, what are your guys' thoughts on Danny Boyle as a director in general, and what are your favorite of him? I'm sad that he dropped out of No Time to Die, besides me liking Cary Joji Fukunaga as a director.
I haven't seen more than half of his films. I've seen 28 Days Later would be my favorite. I've seen Sunshine. I didn't love it, but I also got brought into it with, you know, Brian's sales pitch, which is that it's the best and everybody else is high. So the third act tonal shift in that one did throw me quite a bit. 127 Hours was good. It's not the type of movie I'd ever watch again. Steve Jobs, same thing. And Yesterday was interesting.
Wait, what was the movie that the third act tonal shift had?
Sunshine, where it turns into like a slasher film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I blocked out for a reason.
It was okay, but that was I think that's one of Brian's favorites. And so when I was getting ready to watch it, I'm watching it with the expectation of, you know, this is the shit, and it wasn't quite that for me.
He's one of my favorite directors. I just like his visual flair. I like when you're watching it, it feels like a Danny Boyle movie. The Beach is when I first became a fan.
Did he direct that, or did he just produce it? He did?
I thought he directed that.
He directed it.
I quite enjoyed Beach.
127 Hours is my personal favorite. It's a true story, and it's an emotional one for him to take those artistic liberties. But again, cohesively, it made sense in the movie. I loved it. 28, of course, a 28 Days franchise, and Jobs. That's another movie. That's another movie that I watched because the dialogue in that movie is great. I know a lot of they took artistic liberties on what happened.
Aaron Sorkin, isn't it, that wrote that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's a great movie to sit through. I just listening to them talk. That's a great movie.
Oh, any Aaron Sorkin script, they all flow very, very similarly. I quite enjoy. I'll double up on most. I haven't seen Sunshine. I haven't seen 127 hours in a very long time. But we were talking about it before
And
we
we
went live.
acknowledge that we do not support the allegations against James Franco, since we're going to mention 127 hours, because
What are we talking about?
kind of an inside joke, but kind of not.
Okay.
I just want to say clearly that is not my favorite of Danny Boyle's films.
Rudy, are you going to have to tell your friends that you were with this SA supporter and Cody Leach here?
Oh God. Okay. I didn't know he directed Slumdog Millionaire. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Wasn't that like a Best Picture nominee?
I think it won.
Forgot about that.
We were talking about it before we went live. Trainspotting 2 is a movie that I really had no expectations for. If anything, I was like, oh, come on, why that? And I kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, I guess more often than not, Danny Boyle catches me by surprise. And as much as I don't pay him much mind, it seems like he's got a pretty good track record. So, you know, if I find out he's directing something, I'm probably more inclined to check it out than not, like other filmmakers, but, you know, whatever. Black Phone 2 trailer with Rooster as the background music. Oh, I don't know.
When is that trope going to stop? I can't stand that trope where every trailer has like an old song, but it's slower.
Yeah, like the melancholy version of it.
Yeah.
Did they slow down Rooster
already, man?
Rooster's already
It's
slow.
a slower version of it.
Come on. It's already slow.
No, slower. I think it all started
I didn't
with
watch
Us.
enough of-
Remember, I got 5 on it. And then everything after that was just like, let's take an old song from the 90s and slow it down and make it creepy. Like, God, enough of that shit. It's cool, but like enough.
Yeah. I didn't watch enough of the Black Phone trailer to even get to the Rooster part, because I like as soon as I started getting like where it felt like third act shit, and I'm like, we still got 2 minutes of trailer left. I'm out. Fucking Blumhouse trailers at it again.
I think I'm still okay with your gripe, Rudy. It's the all black screen with a high pitched piano note to open the trailer, like, you know, just the title sequence and ding. Like, oh, okay. That's what bothers me. That like it just seems like, oh, we're gonna start on a really quiet, ominous title screen, and yeah.
And that quick edit.
Yeah, I try to avoid trailers just outright because they're all giving everything away at this point. And yes, they're all very tropey.
Yeah.
Mike says, while many are upset that 28 years is a Trojan horse of a movie, I appreciated the different trajectory, although I totally get why many were disappointed, especially after those intense trailers. This is why I recommend not watching trailers.
Yeah. I watch very, very rare trailers nowadays, even ones like, if I'm very curious, I'll watch just enough to get hooked, and then I bail. Like 28 years later, I barely watched anything. Certainly anything that's produced by Blumhouse, I'm not watching that fucking trailer. I'll have the whole movie given to me. But it's a hard discipline for the first year or two, but the movie going experiences are much more rewarding because you get to walk in mostly blind to so much. Yeah. And almost always in my reviews, I'll be like, I love this. And they're like, yeah, it was in the trailer. So I'm like, whatever. Been telling you.
As divisive as this movie is, I love the trailer, and I want more trailers like this movie delivered, that first one, because it set a tone. It didn't give away anything regarding what was going to happen, and I want more.
3, 7, 9,
yeah,
5, 7.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
It was creepy, and I like that. So I want more of those type of trailers.
Yeah, they need to start doing Independence Day teasers again, where it's just a shot and you don't know what the hell's going. Yeah, like that's the last great teaser, and now we give away too much.
I would argue
Cloverfield was pretty awesome.
Damn it, dude! You took the words right out of my mouth. That one left me like, what the fuck is this? Like, oh my God!
They didn't even give you the title of the movie, I don't think, in that trailer. They had to go home.
It was called Bad Robot. Because it was like Bad Robot. I thought that's the name of the trailer. But no.
Yeah, I remember going on message boards and everybody's like, "What the fuck was that trailer in front of whatever the hell it was?"
Wasn't that during the Super Bowl?
No, that was the third film where that during the Super Bowl, they're like, after the Super Bowl, you can watch it right now on Netflix. And everybody was like, hell yeah. And they watched it and they said, ooh.
Oh, you know what? I saw that trailer as a preview for Transformers.
Maybe that was Transformers.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I couldn't remember what movie, but yeah,
Jack
it
and
was
Jill.
just, yep.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
With that, did either of you see the Megan 2.0 trailer?
Yeah. It's cheesy. It looks fun.
I've seen a piece of it. I haven't watched the whole thing because, as I said, Blumhouse. But yeah, it looks like it's going in a goofy, action centric, like a Terminator 2 type thing.
It looks goofy. It looks very goofy.
I wonder if it's going to do as well as the first one did.
I don't know. The first one, they made some serious bank on that one, so it's really going to depend on.
Do you think the movie was successful because of TikTok? Because that whole dance thing she did, that was just viral as fuck, and did that
certainly added to it.
Add to the popularity of it?
Yeah,
take that away. Would it have been successful?
Did you see the Minecraft bullshit that happened because everybody wanted to have a fucking chicken jockey TikTok? That's where we've come. Like they got TikTok going and they cut it to PG-13 because they said, "Oh,
the TikTok kids can't go."
Yeah.
Yep.
Marcy says, I wasn't a fan of No Time to Die at all, so therefore Danny Boyle's pitch for Daniel Craig's outing.
I'm surprised so many people really don't like that movie. I thought it was a really good Bond movie. But
which movie?
The last one, the final one with Craig. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
People really don't like it.
I've forgotten it, so I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope he gets a second shot with making a Bond film. I think they need another direction for Bond, don't they? Don't they have to take another direction with Bond?
Well, isn't it a reboot?
It's rumored to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. He's on the short list for it, and they asked. I think they asked him on the red carpet, "What's your next project?" And he says, "I can't say anything about it yet." And so now that's, that they're running with that as confirmation.
What happened to what's his face? Is he too old now?
Henry Cavill?
No.
Idris Elba.
Yeah. What is he, too old?
I think
now?
he's too old now.
Come on.
I don't think he is, but Hollywood. Because if you're Bond for 10 years, right? That's 3 films. So
that, and he probably doesn't want to deal with the bullshit that'll come along with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what's going to happen as soon as you have a black Bond, especially in today's, if it comes out right now.
Anyway.
All right. So
I got to drop off already. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's say goodbye. Tell my audience what you got coming up, and it's fine.
Good night, everybody. Sorry, I had a hard out at 11. What do I have going on? I have, if you like Spaceballs, I know Cody doesn't, CP does, but I'm having a watch along on Wednesday to celebrate the announcements. You're going to hit a soundbite, aren't you?
I was, but I didn't have a good one. I was looking to see if I had a good one.
It's like, don't you dare. Okay. To celebrate, Spaceballs 2 being announced, I'm going to have a watch along on Wednesday to have fun with that. And we'll see how that goes. But again, thanks for having me on, sir. Appreciate it. And good night, everybody. Okay.
Take care, Rudy. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys. Lead us.
See ya.
Let me move Cody. Well, another 5 minutes, Cody. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So we'll keep it open to the chat, unless you have something else you wanted to bring up, Cody. And in the meantime,
not really. I just I thought it was good. It was disappointing because it was my most anticipated. I was hoping like this was going to be, my favorite horror film of the year, and it's not going to be anywhere close. And I just wish the discourse would be better. But the longer I do this, the more I realize it's only going to get worse. So,
yeah. Would you like to take this moment to have a therapy session? Is being popular that much painful for you now, Cody?
Oh, there we go. Now it works. I forgot to click it. No, I'm fine. Like it's whatever. You get used to it after a while. It just gets really disappointing where it's just, I don't know. I just don't understand the point of it. I don't understand the mentality of people, and it just sucks the joy out of everything. And the biggest thing that's the shame of it is like, you think at least the best you can kind of come up with an explanation is that the driving factor for people that take issue with you not liking a movie as much as them is because they want everybody to love it. They want everybody to walk out with the same experience as them. But when you act like a fucking asshole to everybody that is in the middle, all it does is make them more negative on the movie.
Yeah.
And so you walk out of 28 years later, and I was like, like kind of bizarre, but like I liked it. It was fine. I didn't love it, but cool. And then you go through the discourse, and within an hour, I'm like, you're gonna make me hate this fucking movie. Like you're gonna push me to that point.
Yeah. I feel like for
It's
some
like with
reason,
Halloween 2018, where it's like I was 3.5, and then the discourse around it was just like you're really making me fucking hate this movie and the franchise.
so for those of you who don't know, Cody gave a strong review for Halloween 2018. He gave it notoriously so, a 3.4, but the reaction from a certain pocket of the fan base was like he gave it a 0. On a scale of 0 to Halloween 2018, where do you put the discourse around 28 years later?
7.
Okay.
It's the first time somebody's made a comment about my kids since Halloween 2018.
Fuck.
Within 60 seconds of me dropping my review, so they were waiting for that announcement on Twitter.
Like, these are fucking movies, people.
Mm-hmm.
I think the internet, there seems to be more investment or more motivation to get people to be angry, like a lot of like that anti-woke shit, like complaining about Snow White, like 40-year-old white guy who doesn't have kids or has no women in his life complaining about Snow White for 8, 9, 10 videos. Like you're just milling hatred. I don't. So you're just not going to see it, is what you're telling us. Like at a certain point, you're stirring the pot for anger, and aren't movies supposed to be an escape for this? Like if you didn't like it, that's fine. But why does it have to resort to like disgusting behavior?
Mm-hmm. I don't get it.
No. Yeah. This like. You just ruin it for everyone, and the minority, the vocal minority, who's really making it shitty, just kind of stains the entire process. And I don't know, it's fucking gross. Yeah, these are movies. It's exactly it. Like if you disagree, that's fine. Like that's supposed to happen. If we all agreed on something, it'd be kind of weird, no?
Yeah.
But, all right, I felt differently about it. Maybe next time. Just confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still processing. So they dropped a comment a minute after you put the video up. So did they fast forward a 30-minute video to drop?
No,
like,
I had dropped my out of theater reaction blurb on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure this person either is just somebody who follows my channel that doesn't like me, or they were waiting. Like they saw my reaction,
Yeah,
didn't like it, and they were waiting for me to drop my review. Just click the review, drop the comment, exited. Like it was literally within like the first minute. Because usually when I drop a video, I'll let it go for a minute and then I'll start engaging with the comments. And you get your couple of bot comments that somehow like the first millisecond it's up, it's some like little poetic thing from a chick with a fucking a bikini or something.
you leave her alone.
And then you get somebody that says first, finally been waiting on this one, and then a comment about my kids. And I was like, oh, lovely.
Gross.
Then I clicked on the profile, and it was a dude who's in the military, and his whole profile on Facebook, you can't comment on it, you can't message him, and I'm like, that tracks.
Could be just a weird image for the sake of a avatar.
Well, no, I was saying the tracks, like not being able to put a comment or anything,
yeah.
or it's like somebody who fucks with people so regularly that you can't say anything.
Yeah, they know how it gets because they do it. Will F1 be one of your biggest surprises for the year?
No, because I was expecting it to be really good. Yeah,
Um,
surprises is if I'm not either it comes out of nowhere or I don't have faith in it and it ends up being pretty good. F1, the trailers were good. Same director as Top Gun Maverick. It looked like a fun movie. I was expecting to enjoy it.
so you said that 28 years later won't be near the top of your 2025. If you don't mind me asking, what is there now, and what's on the horizon that you think could fill that spot? If not, whatever is at your top spot now.
My number one movie of the year so far is Rivals of Amziah King, which nobody's been able to watch yet. It was the Matthew McConaughey movie I saw at South by.
Oh,
I don't know when that's going to get purchased or distributed, but that one, I really liked Companion, so that's going to be in there. Sinners. Off the top of my head, I'd have to pull up what other movies I've seen, but that's kind of an idea of where my top is right now.
So
And then what's on the horizon? Fuck, what do we have coming out? I can't think a month ahead.
Interesting thing. I haven't been following the story about it, but when we saw 28 years later, we had a trailer for Together.
Oh, Together, yeah, that's in my top 4 or 5 as well. And yeah, I hope it's bullshit, because if the controversy is true, that's massively disappointing.
It's funny because I didn't know that they were moving forward with it, so I'm kind of in the dark with the news around that. And Emily leaned over, she's like, "That looks really good." I'm like, "The whole thing's plagiarized." She's like, "Oh, I don't want to watch it now."
Yeah, well, I don't know. The director of the movie, the writer-director, came out with a statement not too long ago that has like receipts where it predates a lot of that stuff. So it might really just end up being some really fucking weird parallel thinking thing.
It's weird. It's
and
very
I hope
weird.
it is. I hope that that's the case, because it's a really good movie. Like, I loved it. That's probably my favorite horror of the year, honestly. I'm glad you mentioned that. But yeah, if it is plagiarized, it really does take away a lot of the luster of it, because it's like, that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Looking ahead at the rest of the year, let's see here. I really hope Superman is awesome. I'm expecting to like it. I might just walk out saying, that was pretty good. But I hope it's awesome. Let's see. Happy Gilmore 2, probably not going to be on my top, but we'll see. Weapons, Zach Kreger's next movie. I know nothing about it, but I'm hoping it's going to be awesome. Nobody 2, really excited for that. The first Nobody was my favorite film the year that came out. What else do we have? The Long Walk sounds interesting. Another one I did not watch the trailer. Smashing Machine, very curious about that. Seeing Dwayne Johnson actually do something.
I like the Safdies, but
yeah,
I've seen footage of that, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Black Phone 2, I'm very excited for. I loved the first one. I've gotten the gist of where they're going. Like I said, I didn't watch the full trailer, but they're going very Freddy Krueger with the grabber, and that sounds way up my alley. So I'm hoping that one might be a really good one. Curious about The Running Man.
Yes,
Edgar Wright.
I have that one circled.
And that looks like it's probably it for the year for me, as far as ones that I expect might be. Wake Up Dead Man, the next Knives Out movie. I would expect that to be really good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Did you see the I See What You Did Last Summer during 28 years? It looks terrible in my opinion.
I did not watch the trailer for it. Actually, no, I correct myself. I watched the first little teaser, but I have not watched anything else. I don't watch past the first trailer if I watch anything for horror. What I've seen so far doesn't excite me, but just the concept of bringing that movie back didn't excite me anyway. Those have always been just okay movies, even for my era of slashers.
Which one, in your opinion, has been more disappointing, 28 years later or The Wolfman? Yikes.
Wolfman. Because 28 years later, I at least liked. Wolfman got a negative review.
Yo, Charles, were you perplexed that Boyle used the sniper footage from 28 weeks later in the 28 years later bizarre archery montage, even though they don't consider Weeks canon?
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I first of all, I need to rewatch it because the first act was just dark for me. So I absolutely didn't catch it. Am I bothered by it or perplexed? Maybe.
I would be perplexed because he's seemed to, in the nicest way possible, say that he's not following that film. But I didn't pick up on that, and I'm a huge fan of that film. So,
yeah, perplexed is an interesting word. My highest rated this year are Bill Burr's latest special. It is quite good.
I still haven't seen it.
It is quite good. I think it's on Hulu though, not Netflix.
Yeah, that's probably why I haven't seen it because I never click on Hulu,
Yeah.
even though I pay for it.
Yeah, and the ugly stepsister. Oh, that's with the nose thing, right?
Yeah, it's like the body
Cinderella.
horror version of yeah. I liked that one. It was massively overhyped for me, unfortunately. A lot of people saw it at Overlook Film Festival and they were like, this is fucking this movie right here. And then I watched it and I was like, okay. That's another thing that's frustrating with the current movie discourse is if people like it, they way overdo it. like act like it's going to be a religious experience and they kind of fuck your experience with it a little bit.
That's I realize the Marshmallow movie that I have this weird blind spot because it feels kind of Friday-ish, and I don't know if that's the Jason kid in me that's like I like this too much because it feels like something that I would have liked to have had in my youth, but without telling people to like watch it or try to spoil it. I'm like, hey, check out Marshmallow, and I'm not swearing by it, but I'm curious to know because it hasn't been really. I know you said people are talking about it on TikTok, but I don't really explore that discourse. But it kind of came out of nowhere for me, so I'm intrigued to see if/when it catches on and what the response is, because I think if you're going specifically for like a Friday the 13th, like a slasher, you might be turned off a little bit. So I cautiously recommend it, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. So my chat has stopped loading, and I guess this is as good a time as any to.
Well, you have one more super chat from Marcy.
Can you read it? Because I literally cannot.
No, I cannot. No, yeah. Actually, for you guys that aren't big fans of James Bond, what of these directors that Amazon is considering to do Bond 26 excites you the most? Well, I don't know who they're considering.
Didn't list the names.
No. Directors. Oh, okay. Follow-up chat. Denny Villeneuve, Edgar Wright, Edward Berger, who did Conclave, Paul King, who did Wonka, Jonathan Nolan, Alfonso Cuarón, Children of Men, or Christopher Nolan.
I've heard the name.
The one that would interest me the most of these, I'd probably say Jonathan Nolan, because he's done a lot of the writing for Christopher Nolan, and it would be curious since Christopher Nolan, like you can tell, like his dream project would be to work Bond. It would be curious to see that role reversal where like maybe Christopher Nolan helps write the movie and Jonathan directs it. And
didn't Jonathan?
I don't know
Jonathan did a bunch of the Westworld shit, didn't he? The series?
Maybe, I think so. I'm not sure, but that would be kind of curious. The other names just kind of feel like the same names that get thrown out for any fucking franchise, like Denis Villeneuve, Edgar Wright, Christopher Nolan.
If they give Edgar Wright, I want to know how much freedom he'll have, because it would, if it's Edgar Wright doing it, I would love to see his
I don't
twist.
see him ever doing like a franchise. I think he had his time with Marvel. And I think that's from now on. It's Edgar Wright's just doing his own thing, or he's doing one-offs like The Running Man. I don't see him at Edgar Wright's Bond trilogy or anything like that.
If they're gonna let him do it, I would say let him do it. Let him do what he wants, because I wouldn't trust him as a studio man. But I would love to see what he would contribute. But I mean, would the world turn away from either of the Nolans, especially if Christopher would be involved in one way or another? Thank you, everyone, for the super chats and the discourse. Cody, what do you have coming up over on your side of the world?
Oh, well, I just dropped 2 days ago a big ranking all of the deaths in Final Destination. So check that one out. That's kind of my big video of the month. We've got I still got to review F1. I saw that last week, and that comes out on Thursday. So I would expect I'll get that review out either tomorrow or Tuesday. Megan 2.0 will be dropping on Friday. I have a Patreon pick, which I think, if I remember correctly, is top 10 most disturbing scenes in horror. So I'll get that out at some point soon. And I think that's it for now. I might be forgetting something, but yeah, that's some things to look forward to.
Mad Monster is when now? don't answer it. don't answer. Well, yeah, I obviously thanks to Rudy for joining us, and thank you, Cody. I'm actually working on something produced. I don't know how quickly it'll be out, but a bit of a transformation here on the channel. I want to do something that I want to do before I figure out what my next step is. Cody and I, you can go back and watch his video where we discussed, I think we did a reaction to Fight Club, a live commentary or something. I have a theory about Fight Club that I haven't seen anywhere else on the internet, and I'm going to do content for it. I don't know how long a video it'll be, maybe 10 minutes tops, but it's something that I've wanted to do, and I'm at the point where it's like, what's the worst it can do? 50 views? Already there anyway. So my theory on Fight Club will be the next produced piece of content I put out there.
You got a last minute super chat that asks most anticipated movies for the rest of the year. We kind of just answered that not too long ago. Movies that we think might have a chance at cracking our favorites.
Yeah, definitely The Running Man for me. I'm ready for more Edgar Wright.
Yeah, my most anticipated that's left, I would say either Nobody 2 or The Black Phone 2.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you again, Rudy, Cody, and those of you in the chat, and those of you who are dropping super chats. Until next time, for Cody, I've been Charles. I can't talk.